Welcome to episode 3 of the Act for Missouri Freedom Pulse, where we educate, activate, and engage the people of Missouri. If you're new here, we stand for faith, family, and the Constitution, and we cut through the spin to get you the truth with receipts. Here's what's on deck. Missouri's new water math. SB 4 and SB 82 kick in this month, what that means for your utility bills, and why the timing matters with the proposed St. Charles Mega Data Center. We'll break it down plain and simple. We were on the ground at the House Special Interim Committee on Property Tax Reform in Kansas City. You'll hear key testimony clips and our field notes, what lawmakers asked, what citizens said, and what happens next. The State Tax Commission Ombudsman is still missing in action. We'll share what we learned this week and what the Commission is currently saying about it. Our grassroots spotlight this week, the Shield Maidens of Missouri. Women of Missouri using the sword of truth and God as their shield to expose what is really going on in the Missouri legislature. They take on the lobbyists, PACs, and leadership. They aren't afraid to point fingers, connect dots, and name names, and we will show you where to follow their work. Before we jump in, please click follow and subscribe to our channels on Rumble, YouTube, or Spotify, and share this episode with a friend. Want to help us reach more Missourians? Visit actformo.org and click donate. First up this week, the proposed St. Charles Data Center. Citizens packed the room at the developer's open house, neighbors pressing for straight answers on water, power, traffic, and property values. Some came to listen, many came to protest. The owner of the proposed center remains anonymous. The site is approximately 440 acres located near Highway 370 in Hayford. A city council vote is set for Tuesday, August 19th. And this one's going to draw a crowd. Top concerns we heard?
I don't think words can express how worried I am. I wake up in the morning and it's the first thing that comes into my mind is this, the protection of our water. How can you chance building something like this, something this dangerous, right in your wellhead water field?
It does not make sense.
There is not enough truth and there's not enough good, sound communication to the community.
Given the history that we've already had with contamination from industrial concerns into the well field, I just see the future repeating itself.
We just don't want to get screwed. We want total honesty. We want all the facts delivered to us. No ifs, ands, or buts.
But if you live in one of the neighborhoods that are going to be adjacent to this data center, if you're drinking from the wells that are going to be on the same property as this data center where they're going to store up to 1 million gallons of diesel fuel permanently, maybe it's not such a good idea. We're talking about doubling the water needs of the city now, having not greatly increased the capacity. So I think that is one of the big concerns that residents are feeling. So, yeah, the water's coming from the same aquifer. So yeah, that I don't have an answer because that's kind of why I'm opposed to it.
Timing matters. SB 4 and SB 82 take effect this month. In plain English, they change how utilities recover costs and manage big user service, opening the door to more riders' fees that show up on your bill as projects like this come online. We break that down in our article at actformo.org, and we'll keep linking primary documents so you can see the math for yourself. One more piece that matters for watchdogs and journalists, HB 145 just amended Missouri's Sunshine Law. It now allows municipally owned utilities, or utilities run by a political subdivision, to withhold individually identifiable customer usage and billing records, unless the customer authorizes the release. For commercial accounts, they must still disclose name, billing address, service location, and dates of service, but not the usage billing details. That makes it harder for citizens to pinpoint which account is drawing unusually high volumes of water when they're trying to investigate a local problem. HB 145 also tightens request logistics. Agencies can treat a records request as withdrawn if fees aren't paid within set time windows after they send a cost estimate or ask for clarification. That's another hurdle for timely public oversight. Bottom line, big project, big stakes, and less transparency when the public needs more. Breaking news. The St. Charles Data Center is now off. Developers have withdrawn their offer. Mayor Dan Boardmeyer confirmed to 5 On Your Side, and St. Louis Public Radio reports the City Council will not vote Tuesday. More updates ahead. Next up, we take you inside the Special Interim Committee on Property Tax Reform meeting in Kansas City.
The Special Interim Committee on Property Tax Reform will come to order. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Chair Tim Taylor. Here. Vice Chair Reedy. Representatives Steinhoff. Here. Boyko. Here. Burns. Chappell. Davidson. Here. Dolan. Here. Fowler. Here. Hales. Here. Harbison. Job. Here. Keithley. Murphy. Here. Overcast. Here. Strickler. Taylor Dell. Van Scoik. Warwick. Williams.
No Missouri county has taken harder hits than Jackson County, and the room showed it. Quick backdrop. Jackson County operates with an appointed assessor. They are the only county without an elected assessor. This is where the problem started. In 2023, mass appraisal modeling, often described as AI-powered, replaced widespread on-site inspections. The result? People are facing property tax increases that are beyond anything imaginable, followed by a wave of appeals, about 54,000, many of which are still unresolved. This year, small businesses are reporting staggering increases that they simply cannot absorb. We're going to let the testimony speak for itself.
I apologize, I may get a little emotional during this. 2007, I was blown up, working for the United States Embassy in Baghdad on my 4th tour, which I volunteered for. I was in the military for 27 years. I've been shot twice, been in 3 helicopter crashes, and been blown up. I don't want to stand here as a victim. I'm victimized by the county taxed my house at $485,000 in Independence in a cul-de-sac. State Farm Insurance, which I've written Josh Hawley about, and I've written Missouri AG about, immediately, as soon as it hit 485 on the books, my insurance went up 125% dollars to match the $485,000. Friday, we found out from a broker, because we have to sell the house, because we owe more in taxes and insurance than our actual house payment is, and that house has paid for 3 college educations. I've worked 2 jobs. I was in the military, I was a union member. It's not fair. Something has to be done. Nobody's going to buy my house at $260,000 and pay $485,000 in taxes. The realtor told me I'm not even going to list your house because I can't. It's insanity. That's what this county is insanity. For 20 years through my union, I volunteered for the Democratic Party. I am an ex-Democrat. I've been reformed. No more. Thank you, Bree.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Anna Boozer. I am from Lake Lotawana, Missouri, so little private lake community outside of Lee Summit and Blue Springs, like 30 minutes east of here. On our personal residence, we purchased our home in 2017 for $309,000. Our 2023 property assessment, there's a graph at the bottom that shows you our increases over time. In 2023, our assessment went from $341,000 to $938,720. My mortgage doubled from $1,600 a month to nearly $3,200 a month, and our appeal is still unresolved. The community that we live in is one that has strong ties with my family. Both of my parents grew up there. My grandfather dug the water lines for the lake. It's a place that we thought this is our forever home. I never thought I would want to move, and I gotta tell you, I'm pretty like, ooh, what could we do? So then I give you guys a solution, or my proposed solution. Again, I don't know everything, but Anna and Brian Boozer responsibly looked at a home that we could afford, with a mortgage we could afford, insurance we could afford, at a tax rate we could afford. It's the same thing we do if we're purchasing a vehicle or anything else. Can we afford all of the fallout, right, that comes along with that purchase? We did that in 2017, and we now live in a home that we likely can't afford.
Representative Van Schoik, you are recognized for an inquiry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did just a little bit of figuring here, and from your original purchase in 2017 to 2019, your assessment went up 5.18%, and then to 21 it went to 4.9%, then to 23 it went up to 175%. Wow. But then on 25, you're back down to 5.9 over the 21 assessment, which gets you back in the realm of reality, I think. But that 23 year is the year that you're really having problems with.
When there is this kind of an increase like they've seen, there's probably another unintended consequences that they will not be reimbursed for, even if it was a mistake. And that's the perceived reality that for insurance purposes, it looks like you'd have to do a full replacement on $938,000. Your insurance goes up, and there's nobody that's going to credit you back for that.
My husband and I purchased derelict property in 2012, and we put sweat equity, labor. We planned this to be our retirement home. We did it in all sorts of ways where we were really trying to think ahead how we would manage our mortgage, when we would pay it off. We calculated all kinds of things. We put 2 small rental units into the building to help us do that, which disqualified us from being primarily residential, so we can't get a property tax freeze, but this is still our retirement, right? So we have no way of being able to, all right, I'll go as quickly as I can. We're dealing with a mass assessment process that's not taking into consideration these kinds of things. So how do we do something that's planning for a future with something that is connected to property speculation? It's so completely unknown that we have no way of being able to control our future based on property taxes.
Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Ian Davis, and I own Blip Coffee Roasters in Kansas City, Missouri. We've been in business for 11 years, and I am not opposed to paying my fair share of taxes. But a 626% property tax increase is not a bill. It's a death sentence for small businesses. There is no transparency, there's no accountability, and there's no guardrail on how much or how often commercial property taxes can be raised here in Jackson County.
Audience this evening are people whose property taxes went up and impacted their mortgage by $800 per month. The due process that's supposed to be afforded them in state statute through the Board of Equalization, through the State Tax Commission, has literally no enforcement provision for timely hearing. What that means is, here in Jackson County, where we had 54,000 appeals in 2023, that some of those appeals have not yet been heard by the Board of Equalization. Imagine paying $800 a month extra on your mortgage, a young family who's bought their first home, and they have to borrow money from their parents. Now imagine they're a family that doesn't have parents, family, and friends who can support them through that process. It's not a matter of years before delinquency happens and a tax sale happens for people that are mortgage holders with their taxes impounded. It is a matter of months. And yet the State Tax Commission, much as they have tried to help us here in Jackson County, issued a lawful order. And I will correct one statement that was made earlier that said that that lawful order has now been implemented in Jackson County. The fact is 23 and 24 rollbacks at 15% still have not been acted upon by our assessor. That is held up in the appellate court and will no doubt be held up until it's heard by the Supreme Court.
You can hear it. This is out of control. Government-driven assessments are crushing families, seniors, and small businesses. 7.5 minutes barely scratched the surface. There was much more we could have included. We'll post unedited testimony and our follow-ups on our Rumble channel, and we'll keep digging with special reports and future episodes. Heads up, the State Tax Commission meets 5:30 p.m. on Wednesday, August 20th at the center of Clayton, 50 Gay Avenue, Clayton, Missouri, 63105. If this affects you, show up and be heard. Next, an update on the Ombudsman issue we've followed from the start and why taxpayers still don't have the help they were promised. Quick recap. In our original report, we showed that Missouri taxpayers were promised an ombudsman at the State Tax Commission to help ordinary people navigate assessments and appeals. That position has never been filled despite being required by state statute. If you're new to this story, check out the video on our webpage at actformo.org to get you up to speed. Why it matters.
We have a law, and the State Tax Commission is aware of what I'm going to say here, that requires them to have an ombudsman, a person who acts on behalf of the people of the state of Missouri. If they had that ombudsman in the office, do you think your appeal might have been heard by now or resolved?
I would hope.
I would hope so too. I think that's something we need to be pushing here in Missouri, is to get that ombudsman within the State Tax Commission so that people like you can be served better by our government. Thank you.
You just heard it in plain words. This would have helped. That's why this isn't a paperwork issue. It's a people issue. What we found versus what we were told. At the first 2 committee hearings, the commission explained that the ombudsman wasn't funded in the state budget, and therefore they had no way to fill the position.
And you can't hire one state ombudsman?
We've not been appropriated for it, no.
One of the questions we had last time was about the statute that requires an ombudsman.
Yes.
Yeah. You said several different things were said about that position, about why we don't have an ombudsman. Could you go into that a little bit further about why we don't have an ombudsman when the state law requires it?
It was after it was enacted, there was several years, or the first 2 or 3 years that it was on the table, it was presented in the budget and was not funded. And so commissions before me evidently felt like if it wasn't going to get funded, they stopped presenting it to the governor's desk for consideration.
We checked. Act for Missouri reviewed the budget and found that the employee funding is a single line item. It does not dictate specific job titles to fill. In other words, staffing choices sit with the State Tax Commission. Representative Van Scoyac asked House Budget Chair Representative Dirk Deaton, who confirmed that understanding.
I asked a question of our budget chairman, Representative Deaton, about funding this position, and he told me that you have the right to hire whoever you want to once we as the legislature say yes, this many FTEs, you can hire them for any position you want to. Is that correct?
I would think so.
I think that's correct, yeah.
So the no funding excuse doesn't hold up. Here's where things stand now. At the most recent hearing, the commission said it gets the message. Representative Van Scoyac told us he takes that as the commission agreeing to finally hire an ombudsman. Here is that exchange.
So why haven't you hired an ombudsman, folks? It's required in the law. This is the point I've been making. I'll make it until we get through with this, that you need an ombudsman. Also, Representative Deaton informed me that it was not the legislature that asked for the legislative liaison position. It was the commission that asked for that position. Is that correct? Yes. So you did ask for an additional FTE that you didn't have before. Is that correct? Yes. But not an ombudsman. Correct. Yeah. I think that needs to be rethought. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative. Any reply on that, or just let it stand?
Message well received. I appreciate it.
That's progress, on paper, but we will not let up until there is one in place. Bottom line, Missourians deserve a real, reachable ombudsman, not a placeholder. We'll keep the heat on and bring you receipts as soon as there's movement. Tonight's Grassroots Spotlight. The Shield Maidens of Missouri. Women who've been in the fight since the battle over Common Core, and who still do the best job of exposing what's really happening in Jefferson City. They read the bills, line by line, so you don't get blindsided by what's buried or snuck in. And they always show their receipts, so you can verify everything yourself. If they are new to you, start here. Their Substack. Every post includes links and citations, so you can do your own research and verify for yourself. You can also catch them live on Real Talk Radio 93.3, Saturdays from 11 to 1, breaking down the week, calling out the games, and naming names. On top of all that, they travel the state, speaking to patriot groups about how the legislature really works and how it fails us. That brings us to the end of another episode of Act for Missouri's Freedom Pulse. Thank you for watching and sharing. If you're near Livingston County, come say hello Thursday, August 21st at 6:30 p.m. at Good Time Charlie's in Chillicothe. We'll be there for the We the People of Livingston County meeting. Follow and subscribe on Rumble, YouTube, and Spotify, and we'll see you next week. God bless Missouri.